I'll be sure that it's on.
Hello, Christine. How are you?
Yep.
Hi.
6 o'clock on the button.
Hello?
Well, this is your IT person. We have a technical difficulty tonight. We're hosting 2 meetings at once
Oh, we are, that's interesting.
because there's the ZBA.
Technical difficulties.
I thought the ZBA didn't have reason to meet tonight.
Well,
They're not
their
meeting,
meeting
are
is still on the calendar. If for sure there's no meeting, then I won't worry about it, but I'm supposed to start a meeting, and I can only run 1 meeting at a time from 1 organizer seat, so
Yeah,
I'm just checking.
No, we
okay.
do not believe
I had
there
to
is a meeting.
confirm it, but I do know from Terry, I thought that they didn't have a reason.
They didn't post an agenda, but they're still on the calendar.
Okay.
Well, if they didn't post an agenda, then they can't meet.
Well, if they need help, tell them to call me.
We ready to get going?
Beverly, if they come on, will they come on in this one, in this room?
No, they have a separate room, but because someone else is already signed in besides me as Town of Wolfeboro here,
Oh, okay.
we can only host, even though we have all these rooms, only one organizer can host one thing at a time. So I was going to ask if anybody else in this meeting can actually
Well,
be the organizer of this meeting.
Beverly, that is correct. I am the organizer of
Then
this meeting.
there would still be a seat left. But other than that, we can't start the ZBA at their usual place.
The ZBA is
Jim,
not
are you
meeting-
talking?
The ZBA is
I
not.
got my eyes on there,
meeting
Jimmy Joe,
tonight.
as the organizer. He looks like an organized guy. You organize?
Wouldn't work well.
We're an
I'm
organizer.
on the ZBA, so I should
There
be
you
somewhere
Got a
go.
else.
motion on the table to move that Jim be the organizer. What do you think about that, Christine?
Matt said there was no meeting this month.
Second.
So there is no
Can you
ZBA,
hear us?
so.
Jim, can you hear us?
We can hear you.
Yeah, we
guys
can hear you.
Loud and clear. Can you hear us?
Can you hear us, Paul?
Can't hear you, Jim.
Can you hear me now?
There we go.
Hold on a second.
Quorum. Do we?
The mics aren't working.
Can you hear me? Paul,
No, we only have 2
can you hear
selectmen.
me?
Paul, can you hear me?
Hey, Paul.
You got the lady there with you, Jim?
Yeah, that's because the other ones are in the town hall with Jim.
That's why we were talking over each
Yeah.
other. Yeah, I was wondering, what? Can't- They are, but they're not connected to that.
Can you hear us out there, Paul?
Take your mask off.
You should be able to hear this. I mean, it's loud enough
You
in
talk
here.
and see if it makes any difference. Something.
Paul, can you hear me now? Paul, this is Verizon calling. I'd love to get him on that one.
Goodbye.
So can I make one of you the organizer for this meeting?
Yes. I don't know if Jim can be it, but if you have to make it mean, you can.
We volunteered Jim. Okay. Now, let's see.
Oh, he's typing. What's he typing? He's the organizer.
Okay,
He's very organized.
yes, great,
You're having a great
wonderful.
time talking to
I
each
will
other.
miss myself.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Can you hear us now, Paul?
We can't see you, but maybe you can hear us.
Oh, good, we can go home. There's three of us, we have a quorum.
We do.
Let's make what kind of decisions?
Let's get through this.
Okay, no.
I'm sure Jim knows what's going on, so we can just,
It's almost easier if we're all virtual. We don't get this, next time I'm coming virtual at my book.
it means we have to go home and do it?
We could, that's another possibility. If it doesn't work, we could go home and do it. Oh, except I think we
back.
noticed it.
Can you hear us now?
Paul?
Can you hear us, Paul?
Yeah.
I can hear you
Yep.
fine. Yep, I can hear you great.
You can hear us? Sweet.
Yep.
Yes.
Thank you, Jake. Okay, so we're gonna wait for him to record.
Let's let him get up there and we'll go from there.
Should I read any of this preamble stuff tonight, or we don't need to bother? I mean, I got this shorter version.
Let's just read the short version, yes.
I think you have to do it, don't you?
We good to go, Jake? Okay. All right, I'll call the meeting of the Board of Selectmen Budget Review Schedule of, what is today? October 5th, 2020 to order. This is going to be a, what do we call this one? A hybrid meeting where some of us are here in person and some of us are virtual. So I'll read a little different version of our preamble. In response to the COVID-19 coronavirus, and in accordance with recommendations by state and federal health officials limiting public gatherings, the public is encouraged to temporarily access public meetings remotely. The Board of Selectmen meeting will be available live through Wolfeboro Community TV YouTube channel here at https://bit.ly/2 small letter V capital K T capital Z W I. The public may observe without participating in the meeting remotely by joining the virtual meeting through GoToMeeting. GoToMeeting provides two options for accessing the virtual meeting. One is by computer, tablet, or smartphone. You click on one of the following links, which is the https://global.gotomeeting.com/join/447-550-261. By telephone, landline, or cell, you can call 1-786-535-3211. Enter the access code 447-550-261. Enter your PIN if you have one, or press pound or the hashtag sign. So tonight we're going to be going through the Parks and Recreation budgets. So we'll start off with our first one on our agenda is the administration.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if I could just take 1 minute, I'd like to go over a couple items within the book, and also to share some things with the select board members online and the citizens out there. So I'm going to share the screen first of all, so that everybody has the ability to see it. In the front of your books, you're going to receive a spreadsheet that looks like this. This spreadsheet puts all of the budgets onto 4 pages. When you scroll down through this, the budgets that are highlighted in yellow still require a little bit of attention. So that's something to be aware of. When you scroll down through and you get down to the bottom of the general fund budget, you're going to see the general fund budget right now is up $840,000. A couple things that I'd like to explain about those increases. First of all, we're going to observe a significant increase in the New Hampshire retirement system effective July 1st of 2021. As a base, that's going to be about a $66,000 increase in the budget. Health insurance, right now, we just heard late last week to anticipate an 8.5% increase effective in July. In the general fund, that 8.5% increase for half of the year is going to represent about $105,000. Other increases that you are going to observe in the budget will be debt service. There's an increase of $147,000 in debt service. I need to verify those numbers. I'm working with Peter Chamberlain right now to get those locked in, but that's what we're looking at there. There's additionally some increased requests this year compared to previous years in capital outlays. Last year there was a single capital outlay request that went forward for $43,125. Today we're looking at capital outlay requests of $154,918. Additionally, one of the other large increases that you will observe in the budget when we get into it is solid waste disposal fees. The tipping fees have gone up significantly, so you'll see those increases. When you scroll down through this page even further, you'll go through the water fund, the electric fund, the sewer fund, and the Pop Whalen fund. When we get to put all of these funds together and look at the bottom line of the budget, right now the total request is $28,843,874 for an increase of $766,159 or 2.73%. One of the other things that I actually worked with Beverly on Friday, we had a conversation. We're going to be building a tab on the web page that we will upload all of these PDF forms to the 2021 budget proposal so that people, citizens out there in the public, can see this budget as we're working through it. Additionally, when you look through the budgets, the departments who have got small narratives have placed those narratives within the MuniSmart platform, and when they have lengthier detail that they want to share, it's going to be in a backup form in the budget to capture that. With that said, that's the gist of it. You will get as well within your budgets. If there's a department that has multiple budgets, a department head that has multiple budgets that they manage, you will see a spreadsheet that outlines all of those budgets. And then you will also see a form that outlines a summary of significant changes within the budget. That's something that Pete had used previously. There's been a significant number of requests for that, and it'll also tell you the number of employees represented by that particular budget. So with that said, I'm going to stop the sharing tool. And when you look at the Parks and Recreation's budget, there have been some shifting around of staff based on conversations that Christine and I have had. But the takeaway at the end of the day on her general fund budgets, Christine has come in with an actual reduction of $14,463 or 1.4% on a budget that's $1,015,000. With that said, I'm all set to dive into this, Christine is available via the GoToMeeting platform. And if you have any questions, I can try to answer them, or Christine can, and I'll hand it back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you for the update on that. So, Christine, if you're all set, if you don't have anything you want to add at the beginning, we'll start going through these one item at a time. Does that sound good to you? So we'll start off with the 100 series. We're in the administration budget to start with. The 100 series?
Yeah, I do. 114, and I'm talking about what we have spent to date. There's only $3,835.88. Can you give me a better understanding why so little? And if it's been used somewheres for COVID, I think we need to get that in the description. So, Christine?
Yes, the reason for that is we had, that position was vacant from the end of February, and we just didn't fill it due to COVID. So we were waiting until, because we had lack of programming, Justin and I were able to kind of streamline stuff and utilize some part-time staff to kind of help with other things. So we were able to take on that role. And we had less customer service because we didn't have the program, so.
Does that answer your question, Linda?
That did.
Okay, thank you. Anything else on the 100 series?
And is the part-time wages 117, the 16,640, is that a new position? Or did you move something? Because there was nothing appropriated but $100 last year.
Yes, so sorry. So having conversations with Mr. Pinio, we were discussing how we could better utilize the full-time employees we have with what we have in Parks and Rec in Wolfeboro. And as we were looking at COVID rules and comparing our town, so to speak, and our recreation department, we are very comparable to what cities run. And then we were looking at what their platform was for supervisors and employees. And because we have such a small full-time base, we make up for it in the part-time, which means we have a lot of part-time staff, seasonal part-time staff, which requires a lot of supervision. So because of that, we felt like we were lacking in the supervisory role for our part-time staff, having a point person they can go to. And so with COVID and taking over some of the responsibilities of the administrative assistant, Justin and I, started talking and realized in a perfect world, what would benefit this department most? And so we came up with, we're splitting the important administrative roles as far as payroll, manifest, and customer stuff like that. We already have to double check it. So why don't we just take that on and then look to adding another person who could take more of a programming side, could help with the administration, because there's a lot of that with the customer service and dealing with programs and setting that up. But we really lacked having someone in the field. And so then we thought about that. Well, what would that look like all year long? Because we really have two different seasons with Parks and Rec and Wolfeboro. One is mostly outside in the summer, and we have tons of programs off premises. And then the other one is mostly inside, kind of outside, but it's our programming is all at one field, really, so to speak, location. So you will see as we go through the budgets, there was some reduction, and I apologize, I should have wrote that down specifically for you. There's some reduction in other line items. I would say specifically my aquatics, because we could utilize this person as the aquatic supervisor. So we would, have them in the summer, they would be outside. And then in Abenaki, taking one of our lodge staff, this would be the lodge manager per se. So they have that one person who's a supervisor, who's a year-round employee, and kind of knows what Justin and I are looking for, or what those positions require. And then helping out with all the, getting the programs ready, getting things going. One thing that we've noticed over the past few years is Justin and I are really working supervisors in the sense that we're really in the field a lot, which doesn't give us a lot of time for planning, utilizing numbers, looking at statistics, you know, growing our department. We're kind of keeping it where it needs to be and just looking at better ways we could do things. And, you know, truly it's two different seasons, and in the summer we should be focusing on winter, and in the winter we should be focusing on summer. And unfortunately, we're so enthralled in what we're doing, we're not getting that opportunity. It's a limited opportunity. So I think hiring a person more on that program piece in a supervisory role could assist with us. So that is the intention for that. But in the same sense, we still have a lot of customer service, you know, dealing with customers in the winter and in the summer coming in, and just answering phones, helping, assisting with projects and stuff. So looking to have a part-time admin assistant or office assistant, which could be, you know, for a total of 52 weeks, it could be one position, or it could be we hire for the seasons, but we're really just looking at more on the customer service side to help with that. We felt like we would just need a little extra there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, do we have anything else on the 100 series? Before we go on to the 200 series, there's probably one thing I forgot to do was to introduce the board here. So we have two members joining remotely here. So I'll introduce the members present here. We have, to my left, we have Linda Murray here. To my right is Dave Senecal. And we have Mr. Jim Pinio, our town manager, sitting over here with us. And if Dave and Paul would introduce themselves and also let us know if they're in the room by themselves for the right to know requirements.
It's Paul O'Brien. I'm here by myself in my home.
Thank you, Paul. Dave Bowers, did you just introduce yourself and let us know if you're in the house, in the room by yourself? I think you're muted, Dave.
No, it looks like he's...
Myself, I'm here, sorry.
Okay.
I'm here by myself with Christy in an adjacent room, not very far away.
All right, thank you, Dave. We also have Christine and Justin with us here from the Parks and Rec Department, so I want to get that out of the way and stuff. Thank you. Now, 200 series.
Mr. Chairman, I just would like to make a note where this is the first budget we're going through. As you go through the 200 series, you'll notice that there's no health care or no dental in that series. As discussed, that's going to be a standalone budget, and it'll be allocated to each of the funds from that point, but it will be coming to you in a standalone budget format. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Well, then, and I would ask Christine, you do not see any significant changes to your health insurance in the administration? It's a part-time person you're adding, so that doesn't get health insurance?
That would be correct.
Okay. That's all I've got.
Okay, 300 series. $400 series. They have 500 series.
I have a question on the 500, and it's really what we have spent to date. I know we didn't put out a spring brochure. Are we putting out a winter brochure, or are we doing nothing this year?
So we're still kind of in limbo with that. As we have more things, more definite decisions on some things as well as we can. We're looking at putting out a flyer probably on a much smaller scale.
Okay.
We're looking at pushing it because we just want to make sure we can do a little bit more instead of to be determined, more concrete things. But I think something does need to go out just for showing off our facilities, and it has a lot of contact information in there. So it might be where it's more of a booklet, just having all that one-stop shopping stuff, and then putting them to the website for more information.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else on the 500 series? 600 series. $700. $800 series. Okay.
One of the things you'll observe in most of the budgets this year as well, under professional development, travel and meetings, you're going to see that there's no money expended this year due to COVID, but just so you're aware.
Yep. Thank you. Okay, next we'll move on to the maintenance, maintenance fund. 100 series. $200 series? Oh, Linda, do you have something?
No?
Oh, I thought I heard you say something,
No,
sorry.
I'm fine.
200 series? $300 series. $400 series. $500 series.
If I can go back to the 400 series, that's, I was just slow on that. The water, 412, it says Pleasant Valley. Is there water up at that point of Pleasant Valley? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
A 500 series. 600 series.
I have a question in terms of the gasoline. I'm assuming we drove less, therefore we used less this year?
That is part of it, but we're also investigating, there's some stuff going on with our gas keys and our
I thought
accounts.
so. Okay, because on other budgets, I had questions on those. Okay.
Yeah.
Jim, I had one as well, line 431, my grounds maintenance, 0.
Which one was that, Paul?
Line 431.
Yes. I
0?
think it was, yeah, I think it was, I'm not sure if this was an added one from last year. We were trying to have all the accounts look the same, or it had minimal in it. It was something we were doing with Troy.
Because there's never been any money in it.
Right.
Right,
I
so
know,
I think,
but there's got to be some money someplace to do grounds maintenance. If it doesn't belong here, then maybe the line doesn't belong to exist at all, but we are going to maintain our grounds, right?
yes, I mean, we do, but I think it's already like, if you look through the budget, things are kind of where they are already, you know, it was, unless I don't think that line was there though, and he created it to be uniform with other ones, is what I want to say. But that's
Well, I
as far
guess
as we
the point
got.
of this is if it's someplace else, then, you know, we need to identify it. If this line just kind of showed up out of nowhere, it's going to draw the same question I got from, you know, the downstream characters that are going to be like, where, how come? So if it doesn't belong there, get it out. Would be my recommendation. That to you, Jim. I mean, if it doesn't belong there, just lift it out of there, but call grounds maintenance. I mean, we can't, it appears that we're not maintaining our grounds, which is categorically not true, right, Kristen?
Right, exactly.
Very good. All right.
Okay, 600 series.
We've got a lot of maintenance supplies where we don't maintain our grounds. That doesn't make sense. And groundskeeping supplies too. We get shrubs. We're not maintaining them.
Okay, we get it.
You get it, all right, thank you. Thank you, good thought leader.
700 series. $800.
I'll tell you a question, the 700 or 800 series, COVID-related expenses. What was in there and what do you think you're not going to put in there next year?
I don't actually know what was in there. It's not on the
I
thing.
think the COVID-related expenses was a line we put in order to keep track of what we were spending, because there was
Right,
funds.
so,
I think that's
so
why
we could
it's
go
there.
get grant repair on that one, but is there no estimation that there would be any additional COVID-related expenses? I mean, with the grace of you-know-who, grace of God, that would be great. But do we think there's going to be a need to book some COVID budget?
$116.
Maybe that's for you, Jim, to ponder, because I'm sure that's going to be for everybody, for Dave, anybody who's outside.
I will certainly take that under consideration.
All right, thanks.
Thank you. Anything else on the 800 series? Okay, we'll move on to beaches.
The beach.
100 series. $200 series. $300 series. $400 series.
Yes, I have one at 412, which is the water that we've used so far this year, and it's minuscule in comparison. And it was for our bathhouses, and were our bathhouses open this year? Were the bathrooms open?
We definitely opened them later than usual due to COVID. Also, we were lucky enough not to have any leaks this year, which was helpful. And I think when we did man them, because usually the bathrooms are not open until we're manning the beaches, except for Albee. So because we opened them later, they were closed, but when they were open, they were utilized. Also keeping in mind that the beach was at mostly 50% capacity due to COVID. So there were a lot of factors in there. And I'm not sure if all those bills have actually hit yet as well, because some of them are yearly bills once a year. So we're still waiting for a few, but I'm not sure.
Okay, it's just so much, so much less that it jumps out, and it'll jump out at the budget committee. So maybe, hopefully, you can have another bill or something, so it's more in line.
I would agree that this must be an anomaly related to COVID. When you look at the 2019 expense, it was pretty much $2,800 for 2018. So, but we can certainly look into the billing and see if there were any changes for actual usage.
Or one may be coming in and it just isn't here. That may be what it is.
Yeah, I think Linda's very correct here. The budget committee has a proclivity to do run rate analysis. And this year is a bit of an aberrant on that run rate analysis. So it might not be a bad idea for all of us to be able to speak to these issues.
Anything else on 400 series? $500 series? $600 series? $700 series? And 800 series. I'm going to assume the same thing under 830.
I just have a general question, and it's, this is a, so when I look back at the 435 line, which I'm sorry I didn't catch this quickly, I made a note to myself, we see that we're going to be painting bathhouses, which is a good thing to do. I'm not saying it's not a bad thing to do. But how does that, and other budgets we're kind of stashing aside for building maintenance, how does that all get sorted out? I mean, does every town department kind of do their own budgets for paint and nails?
The house does.
Each of the buildings does have its own budget, which has funds that are used to take care of the normal day-to-day maintenance issues associated with that building. Christine does a good job at budgeting her repairs, and she's going to take care of these bathhouses, which need that annual maintenance. So, yeah, Paul, I guess each department does, but we do have the Building Maintenance Capital Reserve Fund for certain repairs which may creep outside of the scope of normal day-to-day repair.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
I'm just wondering whether this budget particularly, there is a real reason why a lot of it did not get spent, and whether before you go to the budget committee, you put some kind of a statement about the lines that are affected because of COVID. Because we move things all around in Park and Rec, and it'd be easier than me, I'm asking you this and that, if you just go through here and say, okay, these are why these lines are where we are, and so that explains the difference.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good idea, kind of a blanket statement.
Yeah, and then you don't have to ask. Well,
I absolutely agree.
Yeah.
That way you won't get poked at. I mean, it just,
yep.
We can do that.
because there is a desire, they do have a desire to do more money, and they're gonna wanna know why, and so it might not be a bad idea to get in front of that freight train.
Okay.
Okay, anything else on the 800 series? Okay, we'll move on to Abenaki next. $100 series.
Yeah, I have a question with 117. Did Abenaki shut down early this year? I'm looking at the part-time wages are not as much. Did that one finish its season? I know Pop Whalen did this one, or did we shut down early?
We did shut down the same time as Pop Whalen, so they both did shut down early.
So is this early than what usually happens?
Yeah, we shut down almost a month early due to COVID. We still had, I think, four weeks left, give or take.
Okay.
Yeah, see, again, back to what we just talked about, that's the right thing to say, and I would do it with a date certain. Making this up, we were supposed to shut down March 17th, we shut down February 17th. 1 month's worth of wages, tax, tip, you know, all that stuff has been, was not expended.
Right. Also, this budget does get extended mostly in December, late November, beginning of December. That's when we do our snowmaking. So we're opening up for December 26th. So our wages are actually quite in uniform what we should have, give or take a little bit to date to get the snow made, things fixed on the hill and get us up and running, staff trained and such. So, but I will put it up there. That makes perfect sense.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Anything else on 100 series? 200 series? 300 series? 400 series?
Yeah, Brad, I have a
Yes,
question.
Dave?
Under 433, we have an older piece of equipment at the top of the slope that runs the rope. And I know I've asked this before, have we got any newer information, or has anybody looked into electric changeover for that? Because that engine's not going to last forever.
Yes, you are correct. So we actually are looking to rebuild the motor house. And part of that is looking for an electric motor, putting that into perspective because we have to get power up to the top as well. So actually we are looking at that right now to get plans for this year and then go 2022 for possibly an electric motor with a new rope house.
Thank you.
You will actually see tonight a capital outlay request for the engineering for all of this to be done over the next year.
Okay, good. I think it's about time.
Probably the same motor that when I skied up there as a kid, that's still running.
It's the same one that Ben Ladd and I replaced and put new clutches in it and everything else, so. Yeah, it's time.
Okay, anything else in the 400 series? $500 series? $600?
Okay. Okay, 635, and you said it, and I also see it throughout these budgets that we seem to have some issues with our amount of gas and propane, and so it would be nice. Propane on the back, you've spent nothing. Something's going on here with these.
I know.
And
But what's the issue, Christie? You said there's an issue with the gas. What's the issue?
We're not sure. We thought we had it resolved, and then I think it was one of our numbers, but it still doesn't make sense because it's still not registering that we're using from that account. And we did check all our keys. And then same with the propane, I just don't know if it got coded wrong. So I'm just going through to try to see if something got put in a different budget by accident, so.
Yeah, one of the things that Pete is working on right now is the chart of accounts relative to gasoline, diesel up here at the Public Works Garage. The Phoenix system is not terribly friendly. We can't get a whole lot of customer service support. So he's working on those charts of accounts. And you'll also see it when we get into postage. He's working on the postage as well because those charts of accounts are off somewhat.
okay. Well, I'll stop asking about it.
It's a reasonable question.
At the top of the pile, at the top, at the top of the pile, at the Public Works mega complex, we know exactly how much gasoline went in and went out on an annual basis. We just can't figure out how much of it Christine's using and Justin's using for their own personal automobiles. We just can't.
Well, I think it's you, Paul.
About that? Okay. And I think we heard this same narrative last year.
We did.
Yeah, we thought we had it figured
I think I
out.
heard this one the year ago as well. I'm not trying to be a pain in the you-know-what. I think I heard this one 2 years ago when the former town manager was here. So this is this one is a long-standing, it's got to get, it needs to get worked on.
Okay, anything else on the 600 series? 700 series? $800 series. Okay, next one we'll move on to is the hockey rink.
I've got one, Brad.
That's going to be under the 800 series, right?
Yes, and what happened is there was no number put in, at least on my sheet, for the town manager. And so there's no money being expended this year. So I think we do want to fix that before it goes to the budget committee.
Yeah, so one of the interesting things about this is you got to go in and do a procedure and roll the account forward, roll the account forward, roll the account forward. So I will go in actually tomorrow, roll this account from the department request forward to the town manager request. And then when we get to sending this forward to the budget committee, we have to roll it from town manager to board of selectmen with changes. So they'll take care of that. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, next on the agenda is going to be programs. 100 series. I think we're all going to have the same narrative regarding the expended to date
Yeah, that's
this year, as we've been talking about all evening here.
This one particularly just gets clobbered.
200 series?
So with some of, oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead. What do you got, Christine?
Oh, I was just gonna say, with some of that park money, what we ended up doing was we had gatekeepers at the beaches and beach monitors, and we had some park attendants. Because typically we have a lot of programs in the park, so we have staff in the park on any other summer. So they're able to help us keep our parks clean and make sure people are doing the appropriate things. Because we didn't have that, we would have one of the rotations in either beach monitor or gate monitor was also to be a park attendant, and they would, you know, keep track of all the way from the pavilion down to the Bridge Falls path, kind of walk it, picked up trash, were there at the tennis huts to help with customer service, clean the bathrooms, and stuff. So we did utilize some of that money, but I will make sure a narrative is in there for the budget committee.
Thank you. At 200 series, 300 series, 400 series, 500 series, 600 series, 800 series. Okay, next one we'll look at will be community center. We'll start right off with the 300 series. 400 series. 600 series.
Well, can I go back
sure.
to the 400 series, building maintenance? We've spent hardly any this year. Was that because we didn't put the cleaning people in as often?
Yep, so we actually ended up shutting down the building for an extended period of time, so we didn't really need it cleaned every week because of that. So we were able to cut them down, and then we did start utilizing them again. I will put a narrative in there for that.
Okay.
What's our long-term plan for that building, which we talk about every couple of years?
Every year.
There is some discussions because of the Girl Scouts. Actually, Mr. Pineo, would you like to speak on this?
So this was going to be one of the topics that was going to be a central point of the planning charrette that was going to happen. This is a difficult decision. I think this is a building that we have got to look at going forward and make a decision whether we want to put money into it or whether we want to look at another option, including up to demolish. I don't know what the question is going forward, but I think the building has got some, it needs some attention, or it needs to go away.
Are we going to put the charrette back in the budget?
So I believe the money for the charrette has been legally encumbered going forward.
Okay,
So we're all set there. We have a contract in place. It's just delayed.
okay, because that's really our answer, because we were trying to get a feeling of what
Correct.
we want to do there, so that makes
Yep.
sense.
Okay.
Can I ask a question, Christine? This building, rough idea, what % of the time is the building actually used? If that's an on-the-spot question, then, that's okay. I won't ask it.
Very minimally. We do have it for the quilters, utilize it for their meetings. We have a couple quilter groups. And then I would say meetings here and there, give or take, if there's not space available. We do utilize it a lot in the summer. However, we have been encouraging more of the use of the pavilion versus going up to the community center. But on super hot days, if they need to AC break or something, they go up there. Or if they need to just they have an indoor activity of something if it's a rain day. But other than that, it's really not utilized that much.
I asked you 2 years ago, and the answer was 16%. And I know this past summer is an aberrant, and it might not be a bad idea, because I'm sure you'll get asked at the budget committee, what % utilization is that building? And you might want to say, well, this year was kind of a screwy year, but on average, I think the last time you told me it was 16% of weekdays, not of total days.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, 600 series. $700 series. An 800 series. I guess there really wouldn't be any COVID-related expenses other than to pretty much close it down due to that, right? So,
Right.
yep.
And it's really true, we spend $300 or $500 a year on telephone service? That's the 341 line. $500 telephone service?
Oh, it's the alarm system with the fire and all that.
Okay, next on our list here is going to be patriotic purposes, which is the 800 series. And then we also flip through enough pages here, we'll come to the fireworks, which is part of it, which is also an 800 series.
20% left on fireworks. What's up with that?
Okay, so this one will also need a narrative. So we looked at going to an electronic show last year, so we got an increase in revenue. We did have it all set that we were going to do it. COVID hit, so we had a task force that made a decision not to do those fireworks. I went to the Selectmen and had requested, because we weren't doing those fireworks, if we could utilize some of the money from that budget to help pay for the fireworks for last night in Wolfeboro, which is the special events committee that the rec department is part of. The chamber used to host that, and unfortunately they are not able to do so. We were looking for the price that they had previously paid for shows. It's a much smaller show. I believe it's a Class C, so it doesn't require as much money for it. We still get a pretty good show. So we did put $5,000 towards that show. This budget, however, does have an increase, even though I haven't spent any money, because I am asking, last year I asked for the full amount for the last night in Wolfeboro, because we kind of knew this was coming, where they would need funds, and if Parks and Rec could help with that. It was denied. So we were looking at, our committee has been really working hard, trying to find sponsors and getting, donations for stuff, so we can actually help pay for the fireworks. So we were looking at a split by adding $2,500. So that is why there is an increase to that budget.
Great idea.
Should I mention that Linda is on that committee?
I think it's a great idea. And is the issue with the chamber a temporary issue, just that they're short of cash, or are they just out?
It has been some time coming. They used to host, first night in Wolfeboro, and it was like a fundraiser, but it was losing money. And Linda, please speak up if I'm misspeaking, but losing money for years. And so it eventually fizzled out. We kind of partnered with that special events committee to take over the programming piece and add that, I believe, 3 years ago. And so now the next thing is they, with all their fundraising stuff, it really doesn't fit in what they were doing. And I think it was hard for them to come up with that money. So instead of every year, they're like, we don't know if we're going to be able to do it type deal. They just said, and we wanted to know if we're advertising something, if we were having it or not. So we asked them, we requested a meeting with them to, understand if it was happening or not. And then because of that, we said, okay, this is what we're going to do. So it kind of worked in our favor as far as moving the $5,000. So we were able to have it this year, but it seems like we're going to need that kind of money or some money in order to keep it going.
Yeah, the committee's going to have to go out in the community and raise the money, the rest of it. And, $250 is a lot easier than raising $5,000 for fireworks.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I agree with that. I think if we collectively are fervently in support of this, which at least this person here is, we need to help our colleagues at the Budget Committee understand that, because this one gets the the pencil marks all over it right off the bat. I mean, it's almost like a summary judgment in court. So if this one's important to us to have last night fireworks as well as 4th of July, I'd encourage all of us to think about some mechanism to let the Budget Committee know we support this.
Okay. Next on our list is going to be the Clark House. We'll start out with the 400 series.
Yeah, I have a question for Jim. You removed the door replacement, timber and siding repairs. Was that just because of the increase to the budget?
Actually, that was based on a conversation with Christine. It's apparently much more than the door that needs some repair. So the framing needs some work, and $2,000 wasn't enough to be able to do it. So her and I had the conversation, and we said, let's remove it. So that was what the decision was made based on that.
Okay.
Do we have any asset management plan or plan to do some of the repairs that building needs? There's sills, there's a whole bunch of stuff, my understanding, in that Clark complex that needs to be done. Christine?
Gotta be honest with you. I do recall that we had a meeting and we checked that out with another one. But I think there is a lot of work that needs to be done, and I kind of think there needs to be whether a committee of some sort just to figure out where we are going moving forward. Are we all on the same page as far as the buildings, the organization using it, what's happening over there? Well, I think if we kind of establish that first, then we could say, like, what does this plan look like?
I think that's
guess there's two
exactly
parts.
it. I'm not into kicking this thing down the road. We've been talking about it for a number of years. If that's what we need, let's get to the business of putting something together so we know where we're heading.
So one of the
Yeah,
things that we are focusing on in this budget, and I'm still working on it with the Director of Public Works, we are looking at actively shifting some of our staff around and repurposing their assignments to look after our buildings in a much more organized approach, such as an asset management plan. That obviously means shifting that individual's duties around as well, but we think we've got a good plan moving forward, and we are actively pursuing that as we speak.
So I think Linda's right. There's two parts to this equation, and Linda and Jim, you touched on it, and I was poking at it a little while ago. I'm not sure, and I'm not being disrespectful, maybe you do know, Christine, I'm not sure you understand sills, foundation footings, how buildings operate, how they twist, and all that stuff. I think you're an outstanding Parks and Recreation director. I think you're beyond reproach. You're unbelievable. But then all of a sudden we ask you to go figure out, is the sill rotting, and should we scrape lead paint? I don't think that's a specialization that we should have had and have in our remit, which then says to me budgets should go along with that, which then says responsibility should follow that as well. In terms of how the building gets utilized over time, Selectman Murray, I think, is right. We've got to figure that out. Maybe it's a tough set of decisions, but I think it's time to put the stick in the ground and just do something about it. Otherwise, we'll be admiring it again next year, and I know that none of us want to do that.
Okay, anything else on the 400 series? .600 series? And 800 series?
Yeah, 830, we've used all that money. Was this building open this year? How did we open the Clark House? So how did we spend $4,300?
Mr. Pinio, do you want to speak on that?
I think you know more about it than I do, Christine, so I will allow you to speak.
Okay. Thank you.
A little game of poker here where they put the card up in their head.
Okay. Actually, the building was not open to the public. However, there were some things done with the Historical Society that required them for revenues, one of them being advertising to let people know that they are still here, they aren't going away. I believe they did some online stuff. This is one of the things that I would like when we have our meeting, is just kind of figure out like this piece of it. But this has never happened before, so it was uncharted territory when they requested their funds that they had already spent for things. So this was my first experience with it, and I think moving forward, we definitely want to have a discussion with that committee and kind of figure out where the funds are going and how it all is connected and where it is going. So it is on my radar. Let's just put it that way, and we will be talking about it.
Is it possible that we could just write down on a piece of paper what questions we need to get answered, and then we could all look at them, know what they are, and then we could constitute a team to go get those answers?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anything else on the 800 series? Seeing none. Do you want to do Pop Whale and see is that in our book? That's the next one down, and then jump up to cemeteries? Is that okay with everybody?
Yep.
Okay, so do Pop Whale next.
So this one's going to require a whole bunch of a narrative from you, Christine.
If everybody's up to speed on it, we'll start off with the 100 series.
looks like, are we asking nothing in 140 for overtime this year if they're two blank spaces? Is that,
That is correct.
Yes.
so
Yep.
nothing? Okay.
Why?
I don't typically do overtime. I mean, occasionally it will happen, but we usually don't allow for overtime in the pop oiling.
.200 series, .300 series, .400 series, .500 series, .600 series,
Still the same screwy thing with the gasoline account?
Yep. Yep.
Yep.
700 series, .800 series, and our 900 series is pretty much a fixed number in there for us, so
It needs to
For
be
debt
put over
service.
to the town manager's column so it
Yeah.
goes across right.
It's not in yours?
Mine doesn't have it, it's,
Okay. What's the date on that one?
So back to the gasoline account. If you're showing no utilization on gasoline account, Mr. Ford must be so far over budget he can't see straight.
Well, first of all, that was not, are you talking about the propane? Because gasoline wasn't allowed in that one. That was only supposed to be that. Are you referring to the propane?
Well, any of the accounts that are being requisitioned out of the highway department, if they're not showing up accurately on your budget and it's showing you as underspending, then the other part of the ledger must be overspending.
correct, somebody
Yeah,
else.
yeah.
So we should expect to see on the other side our dear friend Mr. Ford coming in and saying it's not my fault. I'm not spending this much money on gasoline.
Yeah, we're trying to, I'm working with it with, Michelle was the first thing to figure out the key situation, if it's the key, which we thought were all under control, but I think it's more than just a key. I think it's something else. So, and I know, like Mr. Pinio said, they've been calling to try to get the tech support help they need. So it is something we're working on. Unfortunately, we're only as fast as the people who are giving us the information that we need. So I asked if there's another program or something, but right now we're kind of stuck until we can move forward.
So I may be able to answer a little bit of this for you. So I've just pulled up the MuniSmart chart of accounts on gasoline. General fund budgeted for 2020 was $92,286. Year-to-date expended is $48,082. That's across all funds, or excuse me, across all accounts of the general fund. When you look at across all accounts, budgeted 114.7 and year-to-date expended is 59.3. Now, there's a couple other caveats to this that is important to understand. Fuel is budgeted on a fiscal year and not a calendar year like our budget here. So our fuel rates are set in July. And we actually have observed some significant savings in our fuel budget. I don't remember what it was from year to year. But the good news here is it looks like we're conserving fuel compared to what we're budgeting.
Christine, how are we doing with revenue? We, as a board, haven't gotten revenue in a long time, so the difference, you're asking us to okay this expense. The other side of it for this enterprise fund is what's the revenue? And you've had it up through today. Now, I don't know how well they are signing up for time slots this next year. Just trying to get a sense, is this budget above water or below water?
And if I could, Linda?
Yep.
Set aside the ice time. Just set aside the ice time. Let's talk about revenue coming in from signups,
That's
utilization revenue.
yeah, that's what that is.
Yeah.
How much is Back Bay, Brewster, and all those groups? Are they signing up and are they filling it up?
Yes. So there's two different sides to this. Sorry, I was trying to get a report right now, but that's going to be difficult to do. So there's two different sides. The first side would be, I looked at with COVID going on, what happened because we shut the rink early. I looked at, if we didn't rent skates, if we didn't do that, and then looking at ice rentals. So I do have a sheet that I will get to you to kind of figure out, and it looked like we were good. That's why you'll see my budget is kind of very tight for Pop Whalen. I did cut some things as much as I could. It's bare bones as much as I could to kind of offset that revenue a little bit. And then on the other side, the programming piece, for Pop Whalen, we don't do as many programs. It's more season passes, daily skates and stuff like that. But for the other budgets, it's more of the programming money. So I will get a report for that as well. We're definitely under the programming money, but the good news is we are only spending what we need. So we're not going crazy spending all for programming when we don't have those programs going on. So we're trying to keep it in perspective of what's happening. We did offer a program this last weekend, which was nice because usually we have a fall festival and stuff like that, but we were able to offer a magic show in the park socially distanced. So we're trying to offer some programming on a smaller scale just to get people out and enjoying stuff.
So maybe you guys have your budget. I don't have my budget book. It's sitting in town hall. So is there an income statement that's showing us revenues, costs, net in the budget book?
No, there is not. I can work on that for you. When I just pulled up the MuniSmart report for revenues, according to what I'm seeing here, the estimated revenue for 2020 was across ice time income and miscellaneous rink fees, it was estimated to be $248,623. Month to date, Christine has brought in $25,125, and year to date, we're at $118,069. So right now we're a shortfall of our budget by $130,553, and it appears that we still have $50,000 in town purchase rink time.
Now, is that 150 of town purchase rink time in the number or not in the number?
That's 50% of that is in the number, correct?
So
That would be nice to get that in writing. If you can, give it to us a sheet that we can take a real good look at that, that would be helpful to me.
I will do that.
Yeah, that's where I was going with that, Linda. Maybe, just revenues, prepaid ice, costs, net, and then whatever capital is you're sending in on the sidelines. Just kind of like what Barry does, revenues, cost of goods sold, which is his cost of power, expenses, net, water, sewer, same thing. If we got to look at it that way, and we got some time to do it, I think it would be helpful, at least for me and maybe for others.
Well, the water and sewer for day 4, we did a fee setting schedule, and that is in the spreadsheet, and we should put that together each year and it'll tell us what is left over and how the bonds are going down. We should get that for water, and I believe there's one for sewer. That's how we set our rates.
Right. Right. I guess my point on this was, you know, since this is, at least until further notice, an enterprise fund, we should treat them all the same way. Look at revenues, costs, investments, net, and then figure out whether we do anything on the price side, or we do anything on the cost side, or we leave it alone. Those are the things we need to look at.
Okay. We're ready to move on to cemeteries?
Let me get this.
I believe it's at the front of your book.
Yeah, I just have
Yeah.
to put, oh, this is new pop wheeling in here, okay.
It's way up, Linda.
Yeah.
It's 419.
I've got it.
I don't know if that helps.
Okay, we'll start off with the 600 series.
And this is another one, I'm assuming that you're going to put a statement in that we didn't spend the part-time wages had to do with COVID?
Yes.
Now we'll drop down to the 100 series.
Yeah, what is we have 650 up on top, and then we start with the 100 series.
It's just
I
a
don't know what
programming
the
error
difference
on
is.
my part in
Okay.
MiniSmart.
Yeah. Okay, so 100 series. $200 series. $400 series. And 800 series. Okay. Now I'm going to go down to capital outlay.
So that would be toward the back of your book.
Yep.
And if you don't mind, Mr. Chairman, I'm gonna, there's some photographs here. I'm gonna put those photographs up on the screen so Christine can speak to them.
Certainly.
Okay, this is the back of the motor house up at Abenaki.
Here you go, Dave.
Jim, I don't have anything in mind.
It's under, right in the first one, Dave, under
General.
the general fund.
Capital outlay,
Capital outlay, but then general fund is the first tab.
way in the back, way,
Yeah.
way back.
We got capital outlay, general fund.
Yep.
Okay, here we go.
There it is, right
First
behind that.
one's,
Thought Amy messed up on me.
and there's your motor house up there for the top of the
This is
ski
what you were
area.
talking about, Dave.
Well, that's delightful.
So this is 20 years old. So this is the back of the motor house. That's where the staff enter. Well, I guess it would be the front, but technically when you're coming up the hill, it looks like it's, I guess it is the front. Okay, we're ready for the next slide. So this is when you're going up the hill, this is where the motor is actually in there and the rope goes into the building. Those two windows up at the top, that's where we have the lift person is up there. So they're actually watching down as far as they can see to the rope. And then the bottom person actually is watching from the bottom up. this is that view. This is what you'll see when you're sitting up there working. And this is the stairs to get up there. They're very narrow. As you can see, the building's not insulated. And this is the bottom where the motor is inside. It's a diesel motor. Just all the lighting and panels and stuff, switches. There's the motor, yeah.
That's adorable.
And just of you going up the stairs. So we're looking to put funds for 2021 to help with, Bergeron came up to check out that facility, which it's always interesting when people come over to Abenaki because they actually skied there when they were little. So that was an interesting conversation. So he's like, wow, and I think this was still here when I was little too. So that was kind of interesting. But a couple things when I was investigating, you know, I had conversations with my staff. We actually reached out to Lincoln Rec Department because they have a rope tow as well, just like Abenaki, and they had rebuilt theirs. One of the things we're looking at is we do need to go higher. There is the blind spot going up the hill and down the hill. That we're kind of grandfathered in because Abenaki is the oldest ski area in America. So when we do change this is something that we're going to have to look at. Whatever we put there does have to be approved by the state. And then looking at, you know, instead of just trying to build what we have, just looking at the future of Abenaki and is in going into an electric motor and then, you know, seeing what that looks like. I actually did go up with the Bergeron, who were kind of looking at the area and, you know, just giving some ideas of what could be done there. You could utilize some of the building just to have, you know, structures underneath it to protect it from the winter. So just thinking like if we are spending the money, how we can make it most cost effective for everyone. And we have utilized the building for over 20 years. It's time, you know, a better working thing. It is loud in there, so it's hard for whoever's working in there to really hear. They're at the top and then the motor's at the bottom. So we're just looking for a better situation for the employee and just for the patrons as well to be able to see better.
And the building is from a code perspective, it's a safe building, is that right?
It is inspected every year, and we are allowed to do it. It's inspected by the state. So according to them, we are inspected every year. So yes.
Christine, on your sheet, you wrote you checked necessary and not urgent. And if you can explain to me why you...
I do feel it is urgent, but I was like, I don't know whether they think this is necessary or urgent. I mean, it's urgent in the sense...
money. Pay attention.
Well, it's urgent in the sense that I felt like, okay, I could say urgent, like it should be planned next year, which I do agree with that, but also in the same sense, I want to take time to really look at it and have a solid plan. So it's not we throw it up there and say, hey, we could have did this, or we should have did this, or where we just had that new trail put into Twister, like making sure where we're putting it is in the proper location. Would it be, you know, utilized better if we moved it somewhere further back or out or whatever? So I don't want to rush into it. So it is urgent, but it should wait a year so we have a proper plan and we're smart about it. Well, so I can definitely change that, I guess.
I'm looking at everybody else who have capital outlay. You bet their boots they hit urgent. And so when I'm looking here and you say necessary, and if you want to cut the budget, that's...
Okay.
If I may.
Yep.
Quite frankly, after I looked at those pictures of that facility, recognizing that we've got people working in there, there's open chains and sprockets. Is not the safest approach to entering the area that the operator has to be, and if there's a problem with the motor, it's not a great way to get out of the building. So after I saw those pictures, I thought it was a little more urgent than what I had recognized.
So are you
And
comfortable
that's why I
moving
asked
this
the
to
I
urgent?
am absolutely comfortable shifting this to urgent based on
Yeah.
my seeing of those pictures. After I saw that, I absolutely agree.
Take a
Yeah,
ride
that's
out
why I
there.
asked, is it safe? You know, the stairwell doesn't have, it's skinny. It's sitting on top of a tank of kerosene. The engine looks like, so the motor looks like engine. The engine looks like it's got a lot of stuff around it. The electrical service looks pretty good. And I was just wondering if somebody was sitting up there and that decided to go on fire, how do you get out?
Window.
Window.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the
And the
window.
windows are steel closed, if I saw those correctly, isn't that right? You just throw the chair through the window?
I think one of them.
Oh, yeah, those pop right, one of them pops right out.
That's because of the fall in.
Or jump through the side of the building, too.
Christine, we're talking you into making this urgent.
Oh, we're fine.
Probably
No,
could jump
no,
through
you
the
are right,
side.
you are right. I mean, I think it's urgent, but every time I bring my emergencies, it's like, it's not that bad, so.
I hope you're gonna do the same thing with the Bridge Falls pad.
I think, yes, I think somebody already did.
So if everybody's in agreement, I will change this form to reflect urgent. And I think those pictures explain it very well.
Yeah, and I think your
So-
explanation of the dangers that are going on there
Yeah, I mean.
backs it urgent up.
And I think the other thing that would be really interesting, and I know there's a big number, but Christine, how many people a year ski on that slope?
It's close, we've gotten up to 7,000. It was a little lower this year, but close to 7,000 people come through there.
So we have a large
have a
number of people
sightline
that
issue too,
utilize
right?
that hill.
Yeah.
You got 7,000 children hanging on to the rope. You got a sightline issue. Yeah, I think Christine, I think Linda's doing the right
I'll
thing.
start digging tomorrow. We should have it done by winter.
Okay. That was the only capital outlay we had for Christine in here,
That's all
right?
for Christine. I
Okay.
believe that's all our budgets, right, Christine?
Yeah.
That's good.
What about the lights?
All right.
That would be coming to
Oh,
you
is
in the
that-
form of a warrant article. We're not
Lights.
discussing warrant articles here.
Right. All right, thank you, Christine and Justin, for
Oh, wait.
joining us tonight. Oh, what do you got?
Do I have, what is that Abenaki Capital Reserve? Is that my warrant article?
That would be a warrant
What is
article.
that? But we're not doing that?
No, we do
Nope.
warrant articles in November.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm just kidding. All
Oh,
right.
yeah. Bust out the window.
I'm just in shock at 7:30. I'm done?
You're done.
You can go watch a Patriots
Thanks,
game now.
guys. Great. All
They're playing tonight, right? That's good.
right, thank you so much. Great feedback. I'll get on it.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Christine. Thanks, Justin.
Thank you, Christine and Justin.
Hey, Tim, can I ask you a
Yankees.
question? Oh, Yankees. That was very nice of them to say that. Where'd they go?
Can I?
Oh my God, everybody left. Hey, Jim, on the, when you teed up the original budget, is there any way that you can take those, some of those functions, finance, executive, IT, is there any way that you can kind of show us that those are the budgets that make up the administrative allocation?
You've been hanging around too many of the budget committee members, Paul. Yes.
Actually, I think I started.
That will be forthcoming. That will be forthcoming.
Yeah.
Give them a chance,
It's-
Paul.
it's-
Gee.
I was hit up on
It's a big
that last
number.
week,
It's getting
so
bigger.
yes.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for that, Jim. I appreciate it.
Thank you for the ask.
Okay, do we have any other,
You're entirely welcome, Jim.
do you have
See you
anything?
Wednesday, Paul.
Yeah, I thought we had a meeting on Thursday. This is great. There's somehow I had it on my
That means I
calendar.
can do my Friends of Libby Museum. That gives me one every night
We
this
got a
week.
meeting on Thursday?
I think I had a great week.
No,
Yeah,
We're not meeting
No, I
Thursday,
tried
are
to
we?
keep them from being back to back. You said you didn't want to have too many back to back. But I did the best I could, but at the end, you might have to be back to back. Depends on how fast you are.
Well, if we go like we did today, no problem at all.
Better keep Paul quiet.
We'll keep
Thank
them
you for
on.
that. Thank you for that warm and endearing comment, Mr. President.
We have nothing else we need to go over tonight, correct? So
Good.
I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Move to adjourn.
Motion second to adjourn. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We have adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.